Well, Luke, it is such a pleasure to talk to you about David and his golf game. Thank you so much for taking the time. He says that you are the reason his swing has gotten so much better, and seems to give you a lot of credit for his future in golf. So welcome to this interview.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, give us a little bit of background on yourself and also how you met David.
I met David probably 4 or 5 years ago, just in passing, and him being a member of the Detroit Titans golf team, and me being a former player. I had graduated in 2002, and I turned professional in 2003. Did mini tours and whatnot for 4 or 5 years before getting more into the golf business side of it. And in 2009, I came back as an assistant coach at the University of Detroit, and really got to know Dave quite well at that point, and we hit it off pretty well. He liked what I had to say about the golf swing, and he was ready to make changes in his swing to become a better player, and we just kind of went from there. We had good chemistry, and it's always worked well between us as far as working on his game.
Well, let's talk a little bit about his game. So your first impressions when you first saw him, let us know what those were, and then what you've done with his swing to make it that much better.
First impressions, him and I can laugh about this now, but I remember watching him hit balls on a driving range down in Florida. It was the first day of our spring break, the first trip that I had taken with the guys when I first came on as the coach, and I watched him hit balls, and I knew about Dave. I knew the scores that he had pulled up. I knew that he had won the conference championship individually before, and had a lot of success. And I watched him hit balls for about 10 minutes, and I honestly looked at his swing and kind of wondered how. He had a lot of different things going on in his swing, but the one thing that it told me is, this kid mentally can play the game, and that's something that's hard to teach. With a lot of people, you can't teach. So he's always had the ability to score. So from there, it was a matter of him really buying into a system that would make him that would straighten his golf swing out and make him a more consistent ball striker, become a very good player. And from there, we kind of started the road, but that was kind of my first impression of Dave.
So was it really basically going back to some fundamentals for him? Is that how you start off the program with him, or was there something specific that you needed to work on?
It was a lot. I mean, it was, he kind of asked me what I thought, told me not to hold back, and I told him all the changes that he should make gradually with his golf swing. Nothing that would really change from the player he was, but just things that would make him more consistent. And but there were a lot of different things, and he bought in. It started with a grip change, and then once that got ingrained in him, we moved on to setup position, weight transfer through the ball. Over the last year and a half to 2 years, it's been a pretty good overhaul of his golf swing, but for the most part, his game hasn't changed too much as far as scoring, which was great. I mean, he had a couple of points in his senior season in college, and then last summer where we were making some big changes where his game kind of hurt a little bit, and that was tough for me to see as a coach because I didn't want to take any chances for him to score away from him, but I knew once we got through it and got to the other side that he'd be better off for it, and at this point he is. Much better player than he was 2 years ago, and he was already a good player 2 years ago. So.
Well, we're certainly seeing some good play from him on the big break. Let's just talk a little bit before we get to the big break. Talk about, you mentioned his mental strength. Do you think that's the power of his game, is really that's his number one strength, is the mental side and what he's gone through in life to get there?
I think it's definitely the number one aspect of his game. It's been there all along. Him and his kid, he's got an incredible mother. The two of them together worked very, very hard, through his youth for him to have the opportunities in golf. Obviously he talked about to you and on the show that where they had worked 6 or 7 jobs at one point between the two of them. And that's just a mental grind from the beginning, and he carried that on into his golf game from the rest of his life, and vice versa. So I think that's been huge for him. I mean, he has the ability to score. He gets 2, 3, 4 under par, and where a lot of guys would get a little nervous and maybe back off, Dave just wants to keep going. He wants to get 5, 6, 7 under, and that's a mental hurdle that a lot of guys have to overcome along the road. But he had that since the get-go.
Yeah, well, he certainly needs it on the big break. I mean, it's probably one of the most nerve-wracking experiences that any of these guys have ever seen in terms of playing golf. You watched his performance so far on the big break, and what have you thought about it? What would you have said to him if you'd been there with him during this taping? Anything you want to share about your impressions of this whole show so far?
Well, so far, I mean, he's hanging in there. He hasn't. I know I've talked with him quite a bit as it's gone. He hasn't done anything too spectacular yet, but he hasn't done anything that's been reason for him to be off the show. So I think that the big break's a funny thing. You wait all day to hit 1, maybe 2 shots, and the nerves that can build to hit 1 shot. In a lot of instances, it's probably more than playing any type of tournament. Knowing that this really is your chance. Everybody wants to win that show and get into that PGA Tour event. You sit around all day for 2 and 3 hours with that weighing on your mind. It's pretty tough to step up there and hit every shot good. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand when they watch the show. But if I was there with Dave, I would just basically try to keep him calm. And, as far as coaching him, it's all in preparation. I mean, you get Dave game into a spot where he feels confident before the event or the show, like the big break starts. And once you get there, it's just a matter of keeping him calm and letting him know that this shot isn't, even though it might seem like it's a make or break, and it's not going to determine your career. And a lot of those guys, I think, guys start feeling like it might, and if that gets in your head, that can be counterproductive.
Yeah, definitely. The nerves are showing in some of these guys, and they're playing ridiculous shots that they would never play out on a golf course in real life, but the nerves just take hold, and they pay the price. We certainly saw that with Mr. Floyd there. He had some challenging times. Well, we saw David in elimination, and that put a scare into me. As you were watching it, what were you thinking?
Yeah, definitely. My wife and I would watch every week, and we were a little more on the edge of our seats that week than the other ones. But, Dave came up big. He hit a couple of solid shots, and then I think one 6-iron I think he hit was, the best shot he's hit so far from the shows that I've seen. And, that just shows that he was prepared for it. He didn't let the moment get bigger than him, and he handled it, and that's one of his best attributes.
Yeah, he definitely held his own through that. Well, yeah, it surprised me some of the moves he's made, and putting off the green. Everybody seemed to be putting 20 yards off the green. And I saw him pull out that hybrid, and I went, I wonder if he's ever done that shot before. It just seemed out of character. I thought I was sure he would chip it. So did that surprise you?
He likes that shot. It's a shot that I've seen him use a lot. Sometimes a shot where he uses it sometimes where I might not necessarily like to see him use it. But from just off the green like that, in kind of the apron, fairway part of the fringe, I'm fine with it because he's comfortable with it. But there's been a couple of shots that have surprised me. Obviously, earlier on the show, where he didn't catch that one chip quite well and kind of spilled it over the green. And in that situation, maybe the hybrid to him was a safer choice. I mean, with that shot in his mind. So, it didn't hurt him in the end. But it's definitely a shot that I've seen him play a lot, so it didn't really surprise me.
Okay. Well, we don't know how this is going to end up, but David obviously is doing well so far, and let's hope he keeps it up right to the very end. What do you see for David's future going down the road in his golf career?
I think, obviously this show has been fantastic for him, and like you said, we don't know the outcome yet, whether he continues on and does well, or whether he's out tonight. I don't think it's either way. It's a huge step in the right direction for him. But aside from the show, for me as his coach, I'm real pleased in the progress of the game and where he's at. His tournament schedule is going to pick up now the rest of this summer and through the winter next year down in Florida. And I feel like he's finally at a place with his game where he's ready for that. He's ready to take the next step. Really try the mini tours and grind it out there, and eventually work his way to PGA Tour qualifying school. And I think the next couple of years, even aside from the show, are going to be some big years for Dave, and interesting to see where his game goes. And I'm pretty confident that he's overcome a lot of odds in his life already, and I think this is another hurdle that he can get over.
Well, I have confidence in him. I can tell you that just in the short time that I've met him. I'm sure you do, knowing him longer. Hopefully you'll be there with him as he goes into those tours and takes his future on. So thank you so much, Luke, again, for being here. Anything you want to close with or say that I didn't ask you? For me, it's exciting to sit back. I get, different questions from different people about, watching the show or what we're working on, what I'm working on with Dave. And, it's, like I said, as a coach, it's how you prepare your player, and when he gets out there, you really just watch, and, I'm proud of what he's done with the show and over the last couple of years with college, and now starting the professional golf scene. And, I'm just excited to work with him and to sit back and see where it goes, because I think that, Dave could go as far as he really wants to go. Well, I do too. And I'm hoping that you and I will have a conversation again at the end of the big break talking about how David won it and where he goes next. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that. Yeah. Well, again, Luke, thank you so much. And enjoy tonight's show, and I'll chat with you again hopefully not too long from now.
Okay, Gail.